So, the greatest secret that no one ever explains about the Book of Enoch, I'm going to reveal that secret today. And it may not be what you think it is. You see, everyone talks about the Book of Enoch like it's just another forbidden text. Angels, giants, things we weren't supposed to read. But if you actually pay attention to what Enoch is describing, there is something else there, something much deeper. Because this reads like he's being shown how something works, step by step, layer by layer, system after system. You see, he wasn't just chosen to see it. It's almost like he was being trained to understand it. Most people tend to read the Book of Enoch as if he is simply watching things unfold, almost like a passive observer being taken on a tour of something overwhelming and divine. But when you actually slow down and look at the way the text is structured, it feels more intentional than that. Enoch is repeatedly shown things in a very ordered way, almost like someone is guiding him through a sequence of information rather than just revealing random visions. He is seeing events and also being instructed to pay attention, to remember what he is shown, and to communicate in a way that others could understand later. There is a sense that what he is receiving is organized knowledge, especially when it comes to things like the movement of the heavens, the order of creation, and how judgment is meant to function. As you follow his journey, it starts to feel like he is being introduced to a structured system. The descriptions of astronomy, cycles, and cosmic order are presented as connected parts of something larger that he is being taught to understand step by step. Even the way he is asked to record and document what he sees gives the impression that there is purpose behind what he is receiving, as if the knowledge is meant to be preserved and passed on in a specific form. This is where the interpretation begins to shift. It becomes more interesting to consider the idea that he might be undergoing some kind of preparation, almost like he is being positioned for a role that requires understanding how everything fits together. So the question becomes, is he being equipped with knowledge that has structure and function behind it? Enoch was chosen to see, and he was also chosen to learn. Now, when you read the Book of Enoch closely, one of the things that stands out in a subtle way is how it describes time. When we think of time, we think about it moving forward naturally. And this book presents a picture where the sun and the moon follow very specific paths, as if they are moving through assigned openings or gates in the sky. So, their movements are described with a kind of precision and repetition that feels structured, like there is a system in place that keeps everything on schedule. It gives the impression that what we experience as day and night is part of a regulated pattern that is being maintained. Just sit with that idea for a moment. Time in this text is something that is actively organized. The cycles are managed in a way that suggests order behind them, right? The repetition of celestial movement follows instructions or design. And that creates an interesting way of thinking about the universe in the text, where everything above Earth is operating according to a structure that holds it in place. So, it becomes easier to imagine the universe described in Enoch as something closer to an organized system. Everything has a place, everything has a route, and everything follows a pattern that does not break. Time is something we move through, something that is being arranged in a controlled way. So, time is being controlled. When people talk about the Book of Enoch, the conversation usually gets pulled toward the idea of giants and the Nephilim, right? But when you look more closely at the text, over and over again, your focus gets directed to something else. And the emphasis is actually placed on what was taught to humanity and how quickly that knowledge spread, which was a big part of the mistake Adam and Eve made, right? The tree of knowledge. So, it describes the introduction of things like weapons, different forms of craftsmanship, cosmetic practices, various systems of interpreting the heavens. These are presented as powerful kinds of knowledge that changed how people lived and how they saw the world around them, you see? What's interesting is the way all of these teachings are grouped together as something that reshaped human behavior on a very deep level. It's about information that alters perception, influence, and our capabilities. The text suggests that once this knowledge was introduced, it began to change the balance of how life on Earth functioned, creating changes that spread beyond the original source. So the story becomes centered on the impact of knowledge. The idea becomes that humanity was affected by what appeared among them and by what they were suddenly able to learn and use without being prepared for it. That understanding arrived faster than stability could support it, and that imbalance becomes the real turning point in the narrative. So don't think of the flood coming because of monsters. Think of it coming because of knowledge. In the Book of Enoch, heaven is described in a way that is structured and organized. The text tries to show us that there are clear roles assigned to different angels, and each one has a specific responsibility within a larger framework. There are also repeated references to records being kept, judgments being made, processes being carried out in a consistent and deliberate way. Everything feels like it follows an established order that is already in place and definite. As you follow these descriptions, the way information is recorded and decisions are carried out, you can see that level of coordination that is very methodical. Nothing is left unaccounted for, and every action fits into a larger structure where things are tracked and managed. It's all like a highly organized form of administration, something operating with internal structure where roles, records, decisions are all part of a larger functioning whole. That idea naturally leads to the thought that what we are living in, this world, behaves like a system designed to maintain order. Heaven runs like a system. So the Book of Enoch is a record or explanation after something has already gone wrong. The way it describes events, it's like looking back at a world that has already fallen out of balance, and it is trying to show us how it happened, outlining the chain of events that led to a breakdown in order. When God said, "Let there be light," he was actually saying, "Let there be order." You see? So the Book of Enoch goes into detail about what changed, the actions that were taken, and how those actions affected everything that came after. The focus is about identifying the point where things started to shift in the wrong direction. It also presents where responsibility is being assigned, pointing toward what caused the disruption and how it spread through the system. As you continue reading it in that way, the collapse, it's trying to help us understand why stability could not be maintained. It is documenting failure in a way that explains both the cause and the outcome. And everything had to be reset because the conditions inside it could no longer hold the system together. Does that make sense? So the Book of Enoch is an explanation of a failed world. So in the text, we go from a normal human perspective to describing things in a much more structured and observational way. So Enoch begins to interpret everything in terms of patterns and systems and forms of judgment that operate beyond individual events. His focus becomes about how everything fits together within a larger order. He is recognizing how those moments connect. The way he describes what he sees is like someone stepping back far enough to observe the structure behind everything taking place. Enoch is really someone who has moved into a different level of awareness, where the focus is on the systems that shape the events that occurred. And the meaning here comes from structure and order. So Enoch leaves Earth so that he could leave the human way of thinking. Folks, this is all about the idea of order and chaos. A lot of what is described in the text revolves around the idea that there is a structured way the world is meant to function. There are clear boundaries and a defined system holding everything in place, right? I mean, most of us understand this. And within that system, the role of divine authority is presented as something that maintains structure. It keeps things aligned, right? And it makes sure that everything follows its intended design, whether we try to corrupt or rebel against it or not. You know, the actions of the Watchers can be seen as a disruption of that structure, where boundaries were crossed and different forms of knowledge and influence were introduced into the human world in ways that change how everything operates. The text presents these moments as shifts that affect the balance of the system, where separate domains begin to mix and interact in ways that were not originally part of the established order. This created a sense that the natural divisions holding reality together were being altered. The core issue in the narrative can be understood as a break in structure, as the act of wrongdoing. The Book of Enoch is a story about how systems behave when their boundaries are crossed, and how order begins to break down when those limits are no longer maintained. We can think of the real sin in Enoch being about the Watchers, evil, and the Nephilim giants, but it is really just a warning to us. Because the real sin, the real reason that civilization fell, it was disorder. Anyway, folks, that's going to be all for now, and there is more to come. I just wanted to take a moment to explain how we should see the Book of Enoch as a whole, so that the book becomes whole and not just about angels and demons. Please click the thumbs up button for me and like this video. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Everyone have a great day, and until next time, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon. Since the dawn of time, Shadows have followed us. Questions without answers. Legends without end. Whispers speak of worlds hidden from sight. Truths buried in myth, carved in stone and locked away in secret text and hidden vaults. Across every culture, every age, fragments remain. Clues to something vast, something forbidden, something waiting. This is Legends Mystery Masterclass. Here, we walk beyond the veil of ordinary understanding into ancient enigmas, forgotten corridors, and the secrets humanity was never meant to uncover. Prepare yourself. The mystery begins now.